All right, let's go. All right. Let's start off with the game last night.
Well, what'd you think? Edmonton won handily, as they say.
They were pretty close there for a while. I can sense who's going to win and who's not going to win. And geez, I remember some games. We'd start the game and it would be a nothing game, and the other team would be coming at you. You'd have to pull the little magic to get them straightened around. Third and fourth line. You play the third and fourth line if they're coming at you.
Yeah. Well, I think the one thing is that, McDavid and Draisaitl, they're the number one guys, and Hyman, and they came through, and you hate to keep picking on Pettersson, but
boy,
$98 million has one goal.
98, and boy, you wouldn't even know he played last night.
You wouldn't even know he played last night.
You wouldn't even know. And when he's in Vancouver, too, you'd think he'd really turn it on. Yeah. But
he doesn't seem like a guy that Tocchet would want around.
No.
He's not a Tocchet type of player.
I think he's going to be traded next. I think he will be traded.
Yeah.
With that type of contract?
Well, I don't know, but nobody would want. You'd have to eat some of the contract.
Oh. Like we asked you last night, Dad, saying that after he's been a big bust in the playoffs, and Vancouver's on a pretty good run. Would some of the players sit down, like if they're having a beer, say something to him?
Yeah, I think they. I know 3 guys in our club would say something to him. I just don't understand a guy making that much money and not producing. I just don't. Yeah. It's hard for me to believe that the coach would put up with that.
Yeah. Well, Tocchet's you're in kind of a bit of a jam, right? Like, what are you going to do? Bench him?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
He might come through tomorrow night, as we speak, it's Sunday morning, and
we might be bad mouthing him. We'll get a hat trick.
Yeah, but he looks like a guy. If you benched him, though, even during the season, he'd sulk. Doesn't he look like a sulker?
I don't know. Trade him for Marner and see what happens.
Oh, that's even Steven.
Yeah, that'd be a good. No, you'd never trade him. Never trade.
So you guys were really on the referees last night and the embellishment and the faking.
Diving.
Even the goalies are starting to do it now.
No, and the goalies do it now, and they do it better than anybody.
They do. They really do it well.
And we have to stop that. I don't know how we're going to stop it. Fine them. I don't know.
I think Tim, you came up with a good way to stop it.
I said that if you get called for a high stick or slash, and you're like,
but they do get cut. They do
get cut. But I would say you can't start the power play, because especially
I never started the power play. I never had a guy got hurt like.
Yeah, like Hyman last night. It looked like he got hit with a medieval axe and grabbing his face. He goes down, and in 30 seconds later, he's playing in the power play.
Well, it's a game. It's a game now. And they have to stop it.
But you and I have always said, Dad, even watching the minor midget games, the kids would dive the first 5 minutes. And if the refs wouldn't call it, then that's it. They'd stop diving. And if they referee bid on it, they would be diving all night.
But do you believe in, let's say a referee calls like a high stick, but the guy that he hit is embellished. How about giving an embellishing penalty the same time the guy gets a high stick?
Well,
they only have to do that once because it has been done.
But, the guys are hit. They are hit in the mouth.
Yeah, but they carry on they carry on, and they almost make the referee look like a fool.
But what are you going to do?
You give them an embellishment penalty,
or you start fining them.
I suppose
they would have had NHL would have made about $100,000 last night if they fined them things. But I think they got to do something because I don't think the hockey fans are going to put up the real hockey fans. And
they don't mind it at home.
Yeah, that's true. Depends what team you're rooting for. But, you look at John Cooper, how upset he was in the last game with Tampa and Florida. Bobrovsky, he was flopping all over the ice, and they called 2 goals back. And so now the goalies say, if there's a guy near me and they score, fall down and say goalie interference.
So
Well,
that's what it
you
looks
have
like
to put on a pretty good show. You have to put on a pretty good show.
Yeah, but I think that they have to do something.
Well, they have to do something, and they will do something.
So who's going to win Game 7?
Oh, you're not getting me on that one. I will say Vancouver will win it.
Vancouver? I think Edmonton's going to win.
Well, I don't know.
What do you think, Sing?
I hope Edmonton wins.
Oh, you do, eh?
I do. I
Why?
well, because for McDavid, I feel that he should go a little bit farther than he normally goes. I think he's earned it.
Well, he has earned it. There's no doubt about that. And
they have great fans.
Should be a good game anyhow.
Don't you like the fans better in Edmonton than Vancouver?
No, I don't think so.
How about Vancouver, though? Like last night, they sold out their arena watching the game on the big screen in Edmonton.
Gotta like that.
Yeah. Oh no, I think the fans in Edmonton and in Vancouver, they're both the same.
So the big question is, if Edmonton wins, are the fans going to riot?
Oh yeah, remember Ron and I got caught in that riot.
Yeah, people.
And we had to Deacon dive. You couldn't catch a cab. And
Yeah.
we had Deacon dive through parks and everything else.
If people don't remember that, Google Vancouver riot after I forget what year it was. The Bruins beat them in Vancouver it's Game 7 of the finals. And should I tell that story that Michael Bublé tells? He tells about that.
Yeah, that was good. That was
what's the
funny.
story?
Michael Bublé, the singer,
Yeah,
right?
I know the singer.
So he was saying that he's a huge Vancouver Canucks fan, right? And I think he owns part of the Vancouver Giants, the junior team. So he's a huge fan.
Yeah.
So he was on tour on that. I forget what year it was. So it was Boston, Vancouver was in the finals. And he kept saying to his agent, Game 7, don't book me. He says, don't book me on this because this could be Game 7. And if I'm going to Game 7. So if I have a concert, forget it. So the guy goes, yeah. So he still booked it, thinking, what are the odds it goes 7 games? So go 7 games, and his concert's in, I think he said it was either in Connecticut or Rhode Island. So it was in New England near Boston. So he canceled the show to go to Game 7.
Yeah.
So he comes back about a month later to do the show. And he says, the fans, so he goes, I'm on stage and I'm singing, and he says, the fans are really into me. He says, it was just one of those nights. He says, I connected with the fans and I was, really singing, and they were really giving it, cheering me and everything. So he says, I made the mistake saying, the reason I canceled was because I went to Game 7. I'm a big Vancouver Canuck fan. Well, they're all Boston fans. Well, he says, they started to boo me. They're flipping me off. They're throwing stuff at me. He says, they turned on me.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that one. I know. I'd boo them too.
Yeah, those Bruin fans were tough. So, Dad, the poor professional hockey teams in Toronto just can't get out of the first round of the playoffs. So the women's professional hockey team in Toronto lost in their final, and I don't know if it was 5 or 7 games to Minnesota.
Tim, when I saw they were picking the team, I said, boy, that coach that they pick, well, all he has to do is just say, they don't think much of you, and away they went.
Yeah, because the way it works is whoever was in first place in the Professional Women's Hockey League, they got to pick who they played in the first round. So they said, well, we're going to play Minnesota.
What great motivation to beat a team. Is it so that you were picked because the other team thinks they can beat you easily?
And the coach and the other team didn't have to say a word.
No, a hockey player is a hockey player is a hockey player, whether it's a man or a woman. Maybe they would take great offense to that.
Oh, I would like that. I would like if the Montreal Canadiens say they want to play the Bruins.
I know they have to, there's an evolution of this league and everything, but they might want to think about that type of
I think that's great, though.
You get to pick who you meet in the playoffs?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, how professional is that?
It's rinky-dink.
It shows rinky-dinkness.
Well, they would have, but the thing is, they would have played them anyway because they were the bottom team, right?
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, but it was something. So the other hockey that's going on is the International Hockey Federation.
Boy, I was watched that game right from the start when they were winning 6-1. I fell asleep. I was watching it too. Bing, 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 bing. And it was 6-6.
Yeah, they were playing, was it Austria?
I forget who they were playing.
It was 6-1 going into the third period.
6-1.
Going into the third.
And it ended up 6-6.
So do you have to blame the coach for letting the team fall asleep?
I don't know. I probably followed asleep too. And by God, Tavares scored 15 seconds in, and that was the most uninspiring overtime goal I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I don't think Tavares even raised his stick as in celebration. They put their head down. It was like they lost.
And when they played at Old Canada, they all had their heads down, and they should have. That taught them a good lesson, though.
Yeah.
When you got it on, pour it on.
Yeah.
So can I ask what players came over to that team that were out of the playoffs? Like, you gotta admire Tavares going over.
Tavares,
He wanted to
Tavoli.
get out of town.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
I guess so.
And then they got somebody from Tampa, Hague, I think they got, or something. Hagel.
That's great that they go
Well,
over there.
they went over there.
It's a long season.
Remember, we went over, and
1981, I think it was. We
got Larry Robinson and who do we?
Guy Lafleur.
Okay, Dad, when you went over there for the World Championships, you guys handled it differently. You went over there shorthanded.
Expecting two guys. Yeah, we expected two guys. We got Larry Robinson and Guy Lafleur. I wanted Larry Robinson and Lapointe.
But they handle it different now.
And I'm not knocking Lafleur because he was terrific. I think about Guy Lafleur, how great he was.
Yeah, you great guy. But they handled it differently this year. They brought Adam Finelli and the kid that's going to be the first round pick. And then when Tavares and I forget the other guy was available, they cut them. I don't think that's very, unless they explain that to them. Come over.
Yeah.
You're going to go to Prague. We're going to set you up in a hotel.
Exhibition games.
Yeah, play some exhibition games. But if they didn't, that's a real slap in the face.
It certainly is.
But I remember the two things I remember, Dad, funny stories that I remember when we were over the World Tournament. First of all, I remember Barry Long. Remember him? The defenseman.
Barry Long. I never saw a guy get away with so much stuff in your life. I think the referees are afraid of him.
Cindy, he was guys standing in front of the net. He would, especially the Russians, he hacked and slashed them. He would get a 20-game suspension now every other shift.
What he did over there?
Yeah.
Oh, he'd be suspended for the year.
And the referees never called a penalty on him. The fans were, they don't boo, they whistle, right?
Yeah, they whistle.
Every time he was on the ice, they were whistling. He didn't care. Guys, I'll tell you one thing, man. The Russians, when he was on the ice, they didn't stand in front of the net.
No, nobody stood in front of the net when he was, and he he was really something. He was really, and I never forgot him. He had a green tongue. He creamed him in on the way back.
That's good back.
Yeah.
But I remember we're in the airport, and there was a doctor there. John Ferguson was the GM, and there was a doctor there, and he was so proud showing everybody that he got an autographed Russian hockey stick from one of the Russian players. Gee. So he's going around showing everybody, and all the players are somewhat traitor, right?
Right.
So John Ferguson walks over, and I think he was smoking, John. I think he was. Oh, he says, that's really interesting. He says, now what is it again? And the guy goes, well, it's a Russian hockey stick from so-and-so, and all the players autographed it, and I got the coach to autograph it. And John goes, well, that's really nice. He goes, can I see it? I want to. And he gets it, and he smashes it in a million pieces, just like John Belushi in Animal House, with the guitar. And they go, sorry. And he gave it back.
Yeah, well, it was pieces he gave back.
He gave back pieces, yeah. And then this other thing with John Ferguson was, I remember I was standing there, and this was in Sweden in '82. So there was a Swedish newspaper, and it had writing, and he saw John Ferguson. So he goes, oh, they wrote about me. So we had kind of like a fixer there who was our interpreter and everything. So he goes, they wrote something about me. What did they write? And he goes, Canucks GM John Ferguson is wanted for a major brawl that he started in a bar last night.
It was Al Eagleson.
Yeah. He goes, I was in my room last night. What's going on? And it was Alan Eagleson that got into the fight and said he was John Ferguson.
Oh, you always had a good time when you went over, right?
Yeah.
Tim? The stories you could tell playing cards.
Yeah,
and all
we
that.
played cards. Yeah, me and Pat Poutet, we won the euchre tournament. We beat Guy Lafleur and Larry Robinson.
Tell the guy that was trying to learn how to play euchre. That
Well,
was
yeah,
funny to say.
Lucien Dubois wanted to learn how to play, and if you ever people know to play euchre, if you can play it in speed and you know how to
Right.
play it, like you could throw two cards, right? And then everybody throws their hand in.
Throws
Right.
their hand in.
So these guys, we were playing in the finals. This was Larry, so they wanted to get going, right? So it was like super speed, and he's looking, going like, "What the hell are you doing? Like you're playing one card, and everybody throws their cards in the middle. Like what kind of game is this?" So they forget it, Lucien, if you don't know how to play. But
When you learn, you'll do the same thing.
then I remember everybody threw like $50 into the pot, and Pat Poutet and I won, and the guys weren't going to pay. And Pat Poutet went around and made everybody, "Hey, you paid." Everybody threw $50 in the pot. We want the money. He was a tough little guy.
Oh, he was a tough guy, Pat Poutet. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a tough little guy.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun over there. Dad and Cindy, the playoffs are here, and there's never been a better time to bet on your favorite Canadian team, be it Vancouver, Edmonton, with our favorite Canadian sportsbook, North Star Bets. They're a proudly Canadian brand and one of the best places to play in Canada. NorthStarBets.com has everything you're looking for. Sportsbooks with built-in betting insight and analysis, slots, live dealer tables, and exceptional customer service. Get into the playoff action now at NorthStarBets.com. At NorthStarBets.com is not available in Ontario. And Dad, last night you picked Edmonton to win, so you've been on a pretty good roll.
I've been on a pretty good roll. I can tell just looking at the first minute.
Yeah, you picked Boston to win, going back to Florida.
Yeah, well, I picked. I would never turn against Boston.
Yeah, it's too bad though that they lost to Florida. But you said from game one in Toronto, something's off with the Bruins.
After that, I knew there was something wrong with him. He was in a snit for but something. Somebody said something or did something to take him off. But he got the one goal.
Yeah, I got the biggie.
You got the big goal. But there was something thrown off about the Bruins. It just did not. They didn't look like a Bruin team.
Yeah, it was kind of funny, but I thought one of the interesting things out of the whole thing was the GM Don Sweeney of the Bruins. He was mad at the refs, and he's doing his presser after the game, and he says he thinks the referees.
Yeah, but he said the players have to come out, the GMs have to come out, the coach has to come out. He thinks the referees
should face the media after the game.
Yeah, and I don't know. I have to think about that.
I think they should. What do you think, Sydney?
Oh, absolutely. They have to have accountability, and I think it might even affect the way they call the game if they know they have to face the press for a couple of the calls that they made. I think that would really affect the game.
The call in the New York-Carolina game in double overtime, that cross-check to put New York on the power play was absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
And if you're the referee and now you got to go back, even if you say, hey, I blew the call, that's fine. But I just think what happens
Oh,
is,
you wouldn't say that.
But I just think that what happens with the referees, and the way they all get together. Oh, that was a brave call. Like they never criticize each other.
That took a lot of guts to call that penalty. And I can hear them talking amongst themselves. That's how they do it.
Yeah.
Oh, it took a lot of guts to call that penalty in that time of the game.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Bindamore's going bananas and pulling his hair out, and so. Boy, that was a good series.
That was a dandy series.
Boy, they were really hitting and stuff.
They were taking no prisoners in that game.
Yeah, and last night they were kind of hitting to hurt.
Got some tough-looking coaches, too, between Brindamore and Tocchet and all that. Are going, whoa,
that's
no wonder they're going far in the playoffs with coaches like that.
That's what I said. I go, when it was 4-1, I said, Edmonton's lucky Tocchet doesn't suit up. I said, somebody would be getting carried off the ice.
Somebody could be carried off the ice. By the way,
Craig Berube, yeah.
Well, if he does what he did in St. Louis and sticks to his guns, he'll be all right.
Yeah. Well, that's always the thing that, like I said, I asked last time is now that Trevling's got Berube, he's got to get the team that Berube wants to coach.
Yeah.
He can't get a team of all sweethearts, and Berube doesn't like that, right? That's not going to work. He's got to get.
Well, I hope he sticks to his guns, and if he sticks to his guns, he'll be a good coach.
So let me ask a question: when a new coach comes in, does he get rid of all the assistant coaches that are back there tripping over each other?
I don't know what they're going to do. It must be tough being an assistant coach now. You never know if he gets fired, you get fired too.
But wouldn't you want, as a new coach, new assistant, because you don't want a pipeline up to the manager?
I remember I had my first assistant coach
at the World Tournament. Yeah.
Oh yeah, never with the Bruins or anything.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Yeah, I remember. You remember what he did?
No.
Phil Muir was in net. And in the third period, you pulled him, and you told the coach, go tell John Garrett to get ready. And he didn't. John Garrett's pounding back a Coke or something like that. What are you doing? You're going in. What? He didn't tell him. That was funny.
I couldn't see you having an assistant coach.
No,
you couldn't get along with
the one thing. Sorry to interrupt. The one thing you noticed was Montgomery and Boston. He has the coaches.
Yeah, standing at the end,
standing at the very far end. He's the main guy behind.
And he tells them what to do in face-offs and stuff like that.
Was it my imagination, or did I get a vibe on that Toronto Maple Leaf that Keefe had a bit of a disdain feeling? He didn't look like he was meshing with his assistant coaches.
He knew something was going on.
It usually indicates that they weren't his assistant coaches. They were the, who would it be, Dubises or something?
I don't know. I would think though you have to have your assistant coach. Like Berube's got to have somebody he trusts.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We'll wait and we'll see.
No, the one I think kind of neat story was during that St. Louis Boston final that Berube was coaching. And remember he took them over. They were last place in the league, and then ended up winning the Stanley Cup that year. That Biddington, the goalie for St. Louis, got bombed in Game 6, like 6-1.
Yeah.
And then you saw him.
I saw him in the elevator, and I was.
Oh, right.
And early in the morning, and he said, "Oh no, we'll win. We'll win big time."
Game 7. He's
and I'm looking at the guy like you were in the net last night for six, and you're talking about your win. I never thought they'd win.
No, by the gall they did. Yeah.
And it was a tough series. Tim, I'd like to know where are all the beer commercials during the TV. I did the radio and hamburgers and stuff, and no beer, no beer,
like no beer commercials in hockey now. Like it's unreal. Remember, like Coach's Corner, and when you were on, it was beer commercial after beer commercial after beer commercial, and now it's just trucks.
Banks,
and everything, anything but beer commercials.
Yeah,
I think they had one last night.
I don't even think they had one. It is amazing how there are no more beer commercials. Because remember, everybody used to, the people used to complain that, kids watch hockey and all they do is run beer commercials.
Yeah, like drinking beer doesn't equate having fun or anything, watching hockey.
Yeah, remember that you did that Bubba beer commercial for Molson's? And
I got in a lot of trouble.
You got a lot of trouble in that,
well,
boy.
I didn't. I let on I got in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of fun with it.
It was very misogynist, they said. You know what that means.
But it had a very catchy tune.
It did. It was an old Irish tune. So I found out later it was an old Irish tune that everybody sang.
Well, and then
oh yeah.
Remember where were you in a rink?
Yeah, it was a rink, and the head of Molson's his son was playing hockey, minor hockey, and he goes, remember what he said to you? Well, Don, I guess we've done a good job in marketing. He goes, my 5-year-old son was walking down the rink and down the hall and singing your beer commercial. He goes, so I guess we did a good job.
Yeah, I guess I did.
Yeah.
And here's the song right now, and it's a beauty.
Hey guys, look who I ran into.
Hey, how's it going, ladies?
Beer, 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 bubble of beer, beer, beer. Oh, when we get together, just me and all the lads. Everyone remembers all the fun we've had. 'Cause every time we gather, there's plenty of good cheer.
Imagine more of me.
That calls for a bubble of beer. beer.
The Molson Canadian Bubba, now dressed like Don Cherry.
And beauty for the playoffs.
Please don't drink and drive.